Welcome to EAI interview. My name is Sonyal. I am the president of East Asia Institute and Yonsei University professor. Today's interview features Dr. Victor Cha, my old friend, who is Senior Vice President for Asia and Korea Chair at CSIS. And he's also a Distinguished University Professor and Professor of Government at Georgetown University. He is the leading expert on Korean affairs and U.S. policy toward Korean Peninsula. Thank you very much for coming again. I think we did it on the same format in October 2022.
Yes.
So it's been a year and 3-4 months. We are at a very exciting moment as both countries are election campaigning, and North Korea is also making quite big move in several ways. As you know, North Korea is making lots of military provocations, missile tests, and also launched military reconnaissance satellite and artillery shows. So now we are witnessing the increasing level of military tensions between the two. And at the same time, Kim Jong-un has made several important remarks, particularly about the nature of the inter-Korean relations. He renounced the term reunification as a stated goal, and he doesn't use the term 민족 recently. So he transformed the bilateral relations into a more hostile state-to-state relationship. So with all this, how do you interpret this move, and what do we expect from North Korea this year, 2024?
Yes. Well, first, thank you for having me again. It's a pleasure to be with your viewers. I think, unfortunately, that 2024 is going to be a difficult year. I think we'll see heightened North Korean military provocations, missile demonstrations, perhaps even seventh nuclear test in 2024. I think there's several reasons for that. The first, as we have written in a recent CSIS report, historically North Korea has increased its level of provocations during U.S. election years, presidential elections and congressional elections. In fact, if you look at the past 10 presidential elections and U.S. congressional elections, the average annual number of provocations during election years under Kim Jong-un versus Kim Jong-il, it has gone up over 3 times. We've already seen a lot of missile demonstrations thus far, still very early on in the year. Second, as you know, we have annual U.S. ROK military maneuver exercises in the first quarter of 2024 that will likely also be accompanied with the first unique U.S.-Japan ROK trilateral military exercise. And that will also give a pretext for North Korea to be more belligerent. So I think both of these things mean that we will see more provocations from North Korea in 2024, unfortunately. In addition to that, I think what he is doing with South Korea in terms of taking away the goal of reunification is an active decoupling of inter-Korean relations. It's not the first time that North Korea has done this. As you remember, they blew up the center in the DMZ in the past. This is an active decoupling from South Korea of all the institutions of inter-Korean dialogue. It's not a good sign. Doesn't mean it couldn't be reconstituted in the future, right? It doesn't rule that possibility out. So I think those actions also comport with this general trend, I think, in 2024, where you have elections, the United States has elections, and North Korea will tend to be more active in that period because they believe that they can somehow influence either of these or both of these elections.
Mm-hmm. So you don't think that North Korea might attempt a lethal military provocation?
I do not think North Korea has made a strategic decision to go to war. I certainly believe that they will increase the level of provocations, including potentially more direct conventional provocations with South Korea in the waters or on the border around the Korean Peninsula, as they've done in the past. But but at the same time, I think that those would be, as North Korea has done in the past, very limited and very tactical, rather than being interpreted as the first salvo in a war.
Well, I remember you mentioned that successful launch of military reconnaissance satellite was a direct result of assistance from Russia. So, you know, Kim Jong-un has outlined Pyongyang's strategy for 2024, emphasizing strengthening relationship with Russia, China, and socialist countries. Do you see, you know, that move will have consequences on bilateral relationships?
I think this is probably the most significant development when we think about North Korea in recent decades. If you think about it, North Korea was in a very difficult position after the failure of the summit diplomacy with Trump and then going into a 3-year COVID lockdown. They emerged from that and all of a sudden they have this new relationship with Russia. Historically, North Korea has always been the one in sort of the supplicant position when it came to the Soviet Union and Russia, asking for food and fuel, asking for security guarantees, asking for debt relief. We're now in a situation where Russia needs North Korea to provide all of this ammunition for the war in Ukraine. And this actually puts North Korea in a very good position. They are able to not only get food and fuel from Russia, but I worry that they are getting sensitive military technology as well. Again, historically, Russia has been, and Soviet Union has been fairly stingy when it comes to providing military technology to North Korea. But that was at a time when the Soviet Union or Russia didn't really need North Korea. Right now, Putin is in the fight of his life. He's fighting for his life, literally, in Ukraine. And that, I think, makes him much more willing to provide things to North Korea in terms of military technology that Russia normally might not do. I am very worried by the fact that Kim Jong-un recently was reported to have reviewed the project to develop a nuclear submarine. This, to me, is a clear indication that they are looking for Russian help in terms of nuclear submarine technology, in terms of military satellite technology, and also probably ICBM technology as well. So this is a very significant development. It has obviously led to a closer tie between the DPRK and Russia, but this also has a rebound effect on China in the sense that China is fond of saying they have very little influence on North Korea, but at the same time, they jealously guard their influence over North Korea. So if they see an improved relationship between DPRK and Russia, you know China's going to try harder to engage North Korea as well. After the failure of the summit in Hanoi between Trump and Kim Jong-un, Xi Jinping stopped meeting with Kim Jong-un. I would predict that as soon as Putin goes to Pyongyang, and it looks like after Foreign Minister Choi Sun-hee's visit to Moscow, they're setting up a visit by Putin to come to Pyongyang, I would imagine that Xi Jinping will start meeting with Kim Jong-un again. So this is both a cohering of the trilateral relationship between China, DPRK, and Russia, and it is, again, another case of North Korea being able to snatch victory from the jaws of defeat They have been able to take what was a very bad situation after this big gambit with the United States and then the COVID lockdown, and to turn that into a position where they occupy now a pivot between Russia and China.
There's a the increasing concern, traditional Northern Triangle versus Southern Triangle. We saw that in, the Cold War years. So it's going to be a revival of those, two triangles competing with each other. And if that happens, then, current sanction regimes against North Korea will be significantly loosened, and, that changes a lot.
I agree. I agree with that entirely. And I think, like you said, we have these configurations now very similar to the Cold War, where you have China, DPRK-Russia, and US ROK-Japan. China used to refer to US ROK-Japan as the Iron Triangle, designed to contain China. But in addition to that, this has broader global ramifications because, as you say, the fact that China and Russia are no longer willing to work with the West in the UN Security Council to deal with North Korea really reflects negatively on the future of the UN Security Council as a global governance institution. So what is happening here, I think, is not only impacting the United States and Korea, it's impacting global governance in the sense that we can't go to the UN Security Council anymore for these sorts of issues as long as China and Russia oppose it.
Thank you, Victor, for sharing time with the EAI. I think today's discussion is very insightful and very interesting, intriguing.